Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. I think another lovely day is in store for us here in the Ozarks. A little bit of a roller coaster in weather. Supposed to start heating up today, tomorrow, next day, maybe by the weekend be close to 90. And then a real big cold front moves in and we'll get chilly again. But hey, that's the Ozarks. I guess good news for Hurricane Milton of people down there in Florida. While it was a destructive tornado, nothing on the magnitude that they were predicting. It started losing energy as it made landfall, and yes, it did do some stuff. There's, I mean, more than just some stuff. There's 3.3 million Floridians that are without power right now. There was some tragic loss of life before the hurricane touched down or made landfall because of several tornadoes that were spun up. But thankfully, it doesn't look like it was quite the level of destruction that it looked like it could have been. I mean, my goodness, the thing went from nothing to a category 5 in like less than 24 hours. So it was, I think I had a lot of people worried and concerned, which you should be, you know, when something like that's headed towards you, because that's not a force that you can just stop, right? You know, you have to be seriously ready for it. But we'll see. I guess today, as it's blowing through, see what damage was done, how bad it was. The preliminary stuff that I was seeing, that, you know, it again was not quite as bad as what they were anticipating. So that's good news. I did see that Disney World got completely flooded out. I guess that's pretty good news. Maybe wash some of the filth out of there. Anyways, I thought about taking the video in a different direction today than what we've been going on, because, you know, we've been talking a lot about the flooding and hurricanes and disasters and stuff, and wars building overseas and stuff. And I wanted to go down more of a, I don't know, hypothetical kind of path, because I've seen something for a long time in the preparedness community that bothers me, because I think that it's a mindset that could end up kind of getting you hurt, or, you know, leading you down the wrong path. And what that is that I think too many preppers have this vision, this idea that, you know, as everything hits the fan and it gets really bad and there's this big collapse, that the aftermath is going to be just this big old anarchy, every man for himself, no government, no authorities, no law, just, you know, rule without law kind of situation. And while I do see that a situation like that is possible in a short-term situation, it won't take very long before government steps in. And I think it's dangerous for a prepper to build his plan, build your plan moving forward. This is how we're going to survive this. Based on the fact that there won't be any kind of authorities, there won't be any kind of government, and it'll be anarchy, and we'll be able to do what we want to do, right? You know, all the laws are out the window. The things that might restrict us now are going to be out the window, and we'll be able to survive, because now I'll be able to do this, this, and this, and without any kind of regulations or laws or police or anything like that. I think that's not a wise move. Again, much like we've seen with these hurricanes, if there is some type of devastation, yes, it can appear to be lawless for a time period. But I'm quite confident in saying that the things that we face, it's not going to be lawlessness. It's not, I mean, in the literal sense. There will be government, there will be law. In fact, it will be worse than what it is. And I think a lot of this comes from Hollywood. And I often wonder, was this a purposeful intent to try to make people believe that when things collapse, it's just going to be chaos and anarchy and no government, no law? when in fact it's going to be just the opposite of that. Everything that we read and that we learn about, the globalist agenda, it's more law, it's more control, it's more intrusive in your life. And in fact, when you pick up the scriptures in the Bible and you read about, end time prophecies, everything in there indicates that not only will government exist, but government will be much more far-reaching and intrusive than they are now. So when we make our plans, this idea like, well, I'll defend my property and I'll just shoot anyone and I'll do this or that because there won't be any law. It's not how it's going to be, folks. I mean, even in the wild, wild West, which wasn't quite as wild as Hollywood depicts it, but even in the wild, wild West, if you committed a crime, you may have gotten away with it for a while, but U.S. Marshals eventually, tracked you down and hung you from a tree kind of thing. And so we have to realize that we're not shifting into a lawless anarchy, like a Book of Eli movie or a Mad Max scenario. Even though those are the cool things, right? There's kind of this romanticizing of that, where it's just every man for himself and the strongest will survive and he who has the most guns win kind of thing. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be more government, more involved in our lives. Look at China. I think that's a good depiction of what level of government, you will see. When our local group, our tribe, a couple of years ago, we started really going down the path of doing like medical training. Of course, now we're very much involved with the fire department and emergency calls and stuff like that. But when we first started going down this path, we realized that there were several of us in the group that had very good medical backgrounds, nurses, EMTs, paramedics, things like that. And so we had plenty of experience and knowledge to teach each other high quality medical skills. But we also thought, well, maybe we should also seek professional certifications for those skills. And there was some back and forth. Well, will we really need that? And we decided that we did. And so that was the path that we went, was not just developing the skills, but getting the professional certifications for them. Our organization now is a National Training Center for the American Red Cross, and I'm not a big fan of the American Red Cross, but they do offer very professional training. Also American Heart Association and the American American College of Surgeons or something like that. Several different professional certifications. And the reason is because I'm pretty confident that as things move forward, you're going to need that professional credentials to be able to really do anything. And to give you an example, I remember reading an article. It's been about a year ago, I think, maybe a year and a half, something like that. And it was just a local news article over in China where there was a vehicle wreck, okay? And the person wrecked his vehicle because he had a heart attack. And just a passerby in China saw this or came upon this and started administering CPR to the driver. Ended up saving his life. But then the government got involved and they found out that the person that was administering CPR had no medical certifications, no qualifications to do that. Even though they did it correctly and they saved the person's life, they ended up arresting and criminally charging this person because in China, you can't do that kind of stuff if you do not have some type of professional certification. The things that you're seeing happen in North Carolina and all the rumors of FEMA, a lot of that is when FEMA sets up and again, I'm no fan of FEMA either, but when FEMA sets up a disaster area, a lot of times you are limited in what you can do volunteering in those areas based on the professional certifications. You can show up and say, oh, I know medical stuff, I know all this first responder, EMT. Well, where's your credentials? Oh, you don't have them? Sorry, you don't get to participate. And so our plans are, yes, to be self-sufficient. Our plans are to have, be able to exist on our own as much as possible. But we've also chosen to have a plan to how do we combat big brother government as it gets bigger. Money stuff. Everyone talks about the US dollar collapsing and there being hyperinflation, and it'll just be this barter system. That's the black market. The reality of what will be in place will be the digital currency. So it's going to be bigger government, more control. And so when you are planning your plans, right? Yes, most of you I know are going to say, well, I don't want to exist in that system. 100% agree. But it's a good idea to have plans of how to at least have a workaround. How can you work around that system? Remember during COVID, that in some areas they locked areas down and people weren't even allowed to go about and move unless you were these special employees, these special workers that well, I'm an EMT, I need to be going this place. Okay, now you're able to travel. And so it's a good idea, especially as a group, to think of these kinds of things, of trying to plan for the future, not a future of necessarily complete anarchy and no rule, but actually a future where it will be even a more intrusive government, that you won't be able to do things, you won't be able to participate in society if you do not have these certain bits of paper and these certain credentials. And I'm not advocating necessarily you getting those, but it's definitely something to be planning for. How will you get around that? Will you be able to be completely self-sufficient and not have to go to the grocery store? But if you do have to go to the grocery store, you may need these certain credentials. I've talked in our group, and I've talked to other people's groups that, they may designate one person, kind of like how the mafia, the mafia, they'll designate one guy that he's going to grow up and be squeaky clean so he can be the attorney, right? Or something like that. You may designate one guy that's already kind of plugged into the system, and he's the one that's going to have the paperwork, right? The papers, so that he can go do business for the group. These are things that we must think of. I know it's dystopian sounding, but it's the reality. It's what we're going to face. Like I said, we're already seeing it in several other countries, and to expect that America will eventually get to that place, I think, is a pretty decent expectation. And so we need to kind of do both. Be as self-sufficient as possible, but then also have a plan as a workaround so that we can exist in that society. And so again, like our group, that's why we went down a professional certification route, with, we've got nationally registered, EMTs and licensed nurses and stuff, where people, some of us in the group, we had those in the past, and because of our work that we're doing, we've gone back and reapplied and got the licenses and the certifications so that we can have that, to be able to move around, to be able to do things in the future. And so it's something to be thinking about. Don't just assume that it's going to be this lawless society where it's just every man for himself. I don't believe it's going to be like that. I believe it's going to be way bigger than it is now. And, you're not going to be able to go, you won't be able to work on a car. Oh, you're not a licensed mechanic? Oh, sorry, you can't work on this car. Oh, well, I need my trees trimmed. Oh, you don't have a professional certification and training and license, then you can't cut a tree down. Sorry, you can't burn your own wood because you don't have that. I think that that's very much a path that we're headed down. It's a way to very much restrict a lot of things. And it's something to think about, that if you're able to attain certain professional certifications now, it could possibly help you in the future, at least if a few of you in your group does that. So anyways, I know this isn't an exciting topic with everything that's going on, But I thought it was a good time to slip something like this in, because I do think it's a very important topic to be thinking about as you move forward in more and more and adjusting your preparedness plans. Folks, it's time to get your houses in order and to prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.